I was asked 2 weeks ago to talk slightly slower. Apparently, I talk at 100 miles an hour and expend a lot of information very quickly. So I'm going to go a little bit slower this week and take us through how to balance trade versus consumer PR and marketing in your business. This is a big question we have. I mean, you guys, many of you are returning and you've been coming back week after week. And every Wednesday, we're doing these workshops. And we've covered all sorts of things around messaging, around strategy, around how to measure the effectiveness, all sorts of different things. All of these trainings are available if you would like to hear them again. So do just pop me a note. Let me know if there's anything specific you would like, because we can share the links with you. But thank you very much for coming today. I'm AJ Sharp. I'm the founder of Sharp Relations. We are a communications, branding and PR agency based in Kent. I left my director's role at one of the top London food and drinks agencies in 2010 and set up Sharp Relations. When I was in London, I was managing the comm strategies and some pretty big budgets for all sorts of brands over the years, including Discovery Foods, Tilda Rice, Champagne Taittinger, Marston's Beer, Villa Maria, Yo Valley Yogurt, and Filippo Berio olive oil. And I've always been really passionate about great food and drink, but I knew I wanted to make a difference to more people and more businesses and have a bigger effect. In this picture, you can see the team. This is after a morning of business coaching. You can see me collecting the Small Business Award in December, end of last year. And that's Abba, the office dog. She's a very integral part of our team. She tells us when it's time to get up and go and have a stroll and have a break. And she knows exactly who has an apple in their handbag. This is me. This is my family. Martin, you can see there's my husband. He left the army 3 years ago. He joined Sharp as the ops director. And the kids claim to have their own desks in our office. We're a family business, but we're a team of 9. And as many of the regular workshop guys will know, I was on holiday last week. So here's a picture from my holiday. Right, let's dive straight in. So how do we balance trade versus consumer PR and marketing for your food and drink business? Honestly, this is one of the biggest conundrums for me, for more business owners than for brand managers. And I think in terms of these workshops, we're finding that we're getting more business owners than we are brand managers, but I think it's really relevant for both. And we analyzed some of the questions that people were asking us. We always do a survey at the end of each of these workshops, and we ask you to give us feedback and tell us, kind of your thoughts, share any questions. And the main kind of questions or comments we have had, we kind of summarized them, and we found one of the questions, where does the trade outreach end and the consumer outreach begin? Can you even use PR to engage with the trade? We're only B2B, so we don't need PR and marketing. And can you tell us how much we should focus on the trade and how much on the consumer? So I'm going to start really with the first and last questions, which is really all about focusing your resources. And when I talk about resources in this context, I'm not just talking about your budget, although this is the focus of this section. I'm talking about the other valuable resources for you, which is your time and your energy. As a business owner, your time and your energy is your most precious commodity. Budget is not. Budget is just a tool. Money is just a tool. Most people often get this the wrong way around. And in my mentoring sessions, it's one of the biggest things I have to unpick for people. But money is just something you use, like electricity. You think back to every paycheck you've ever received, every invoice that was ever paid. Look into your future, you see the same checks, invoices, flow. Will it be more? Will it be less? You decide. But money literally has the capability to be infinite. You can always make more. It flows around. It flows in and out of your business every day. Your business needs it as much as it needs oxygen or anything else. You cannot live without it. And it's not good and it's not bad. It's just an energy resource, a human creation. But you are the power pack of your life, of your business. You are the engine house. You are the generator. There is no backup generator. You are precious. So you have to preserve your sanity, protect your time, nurture your own energy levels. And there's a good reason why the top entrepreneurs spend time engaging in exercise, yoga, meditation. It's not because they're wealthy and have lots of time on their hands. Quite the opposite. Most of these guys still work 14, 16-hour days because for them, it's not work anymore. It's their life, and it's a great life. And it's because they all realize their own worth, that to be successful, you have to have a healthy mind. You have to stay curious. You have to keep learning and take a moment of peace in every day. And a healthy body, keep fit, keep strong. 1 hour of exercise will result in 8 hours of much better work at your desk, I promise you. There's only one you, and you have to preserve your energy and protect your time and use it wisely. I was listening to a podcast yesterday and I heard somebody say, and it was something like, you have 24 hours in a day, same as Bill Gates, same as Elon Musk, same as Mother Teresa, same as Gandhi. It's all up to us to recognize our resources and spend them as wisely as possible. Right, we're in the question, let's talk pipeline. So we're answering the question of how to work out how much to spend on your trade and how much to spend on your consumer activities. And I'm going to share how I would refer to your numbers to help you to make this decision. But before I talk any more about financials, I want to make it very clear, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not a qualified financial advisor. You have to seek your own professional advice before taking action on your finances. I'm all about the PR and marketing, and I'm all about the working out where to put those resources. If you're not sure where to turn, your accountant can help you with forecasting and planning, as will an FD or a qualified financial advisor. I do highly recommend you get somebody, with a figures mind to help you with this. But the answer to how to spread your resources is very much can be buried in your figures. So how does your business make money? What are your pipelines? Really fundamentally, where does most of your revenue come from? Do you have a bar chart or a pie graph to show the different areas to make money? If you don't, you really should. It's really critical you analyze your own financials to see where the majority of your revenue is springing from. In other words, what are your pipelines? For most food and drinks businesses, these pipelines can be split between revenue generated from the trade, i.e. B2B, and revenue generated from consumers, B2C. Here, I've just shown a couple of ideas of consumer pipelines. This would give a total revenue, for example, of 215K. And it might be split between your website sales, your e-commerce, your shop door sales. Maybe you have some of your customers come direct to your door, your home, your office, your farm, and your markets and events. If you have shops, for example, perhaps this would be one of your elements. Then you've got your for trade or however many trade pipelines you may have. These might be coming from supermarket sales. It might be independent fine food stores. It might be machinery supply. A lot of different food and drinks businesses have a sort of secondary service where they sell machinery, coffee machines, that sort of thing. And it might be white label. You may have another handful of different pipelines on either of these that you can add in, but analyze them, make sure you know what they are. Here's the same information, again, in a pie chart. Just make sure you know what these figures look like, especially if you're a visual learner, which most people, mainly entrepreneurs, really often are. There's a reason most of the DIY accountancy software packages like Xero and QuickBooks offer pretty graphs and charts. And that is because pictures often tell us a story and help us to understand that story better than just figures, black and white on a page can ever tell us. And I know what you're thinking, why is this PR and marketing person obsessing over revenue and how it looks? But the reason is this. You have to be best friends with your figures if your marketing is going to be truly effective, because the two are inextricably linked. And this comes back to our training that we did about measuring the effectiveness of what you're doing and making sure it links back to your figures, making that link every single time so that you know what from your marketing is succeeding, i.e. it's making more in profit than it is costing, and what is failing, i.e. it is costing you more than it is making in profit. Money is always a weird thing to talk about, and you do have to put aside weird feelings over money. Many people carry hang-ups and emotions associated with money. Often it comes from childhood. For some people, it makes them inexplicably angry. For others, it makes them feel anxious, constricted, worried. Few people feel peaceful when you mention money. But the goal is, especially when you're making decisions for your PR and marketing, making decisions for the future of your business, the goal is to look at it with a complete indifference, like you would something like electricity. How do you feel about electricity? Well, it might be annoyed actually at the moment if it's been out over the weekend, but for in non-storm related times, electricity usually conjures up feelings of indifference, a feeling that it's useful, you need it, you'll use it when you need it, you don't stockpile it, you don't store it, you don't panic about it or obsess about it. You don't really even think about it at all. You just expect it to be there when you need it, and you accept it comes at a cost. It's the same with the revenue in the business. To drive the revenue, you need to do the marketing. You know that the marketing is going to come at a cost. There is a cost for that resource to keep flowing into your business. Now, these figures are fictional, but based loosely on a real food business. And it's fascinating how you might interpret these figures. Again, this is where you could really employ someone with financial expertise to help you to make the decisions based off your figures. But on the consumer side, the website sales are doing well. They're making up 58% of all consumer sales, and marketing events only a third. Shopdoor just 7%. But perhaps decisions could be made at this point. The realization that the Shopdoor sales were only generating 15K, but you were having to pay 24K for someone to man that Shopdoor. Actually, could that person be more effective, really focusing that person's time building out your events and marketing sales? The events and marketing could become an effective revenue stream. But more than that, events and marketing, this going to markets, going to farmers markets, going to shows and fairs and fetes, this is an incredible awareness branding exercise. It's a sampling opportunity. It's a chance to get product into hands. On the trade side of things, the best pipeline by far, looking at these figures, was selling into supermarkets. However, this brings round a question about whether supermarket sales should be viewed as a trade or consumer pipeline. The answer is both, very much so. As we know, getting into the supermarket is practically a full-time job in the first place, and staying on the shelves and keeping the buyers happy can also be a full-time job. So perhaps your strategy to sell more through supermarkets, so you would need to concentrate on reaching out to more buyers, but you also will need to be keeping that brand awareness really high so the product continues to fly off the shelves, so that your customers know about your product. They're going in, they're searching for it, they're looking for it. This particular company was putting a lot of time and effort into supplying specialist machinery for their B2B contacts. Maybe even nearly half their time was going on this. And once we had looked at the figures, we had actually realized the amount of work it was causing. It was not a very profitable activity. Whereas white labeling was a much more profitable activity. Changing the labels on the machine was easy to do, wasn't really causing much more work than anything they were already doing. So this became a much larger focus. Seeing the revenue streams as percentages really helps you to work out how to split your resources. Are there areas you want to dial up? Are there areas which are taking more time and resources than they should be and yielding lower profits? Let your figures tell you the story and cross-reference it with the work that we've been doing over the previous workshops. Because we've talked already, haven't we? The previous workshops, we went into depth over the past 7 weeks now, over deep diving into your goal setting and why it's the most important part of any marketing plan to understand where you want to end up, your final strategy, what the desired outcome was, what you were prepared to pay to get there. Marketing isn't free. It's either going to cost you your time or your energy or your budget. And you have to decide which price sits better with you at each stage of your growth. We talked through inputs, knowing your activities and your tactics. This was a massive section. We had to split it into 2 workshops. There was just too much. And we took a really close look at the different demographics and how they interact with different media outlets like websites, events, social media, PR, and emails. And we covered measuring the effectiveness of PR and marketing, which has been the most viewed. It's been the most viewed training that we have on our system, which I'm not surprised about at all, because again, this is what I'm talking about with the money and the budget side of things. Making sure your figures are leading your marketing activity will result in success, and measuring the effectiveness and making sure the two are really linking up beautifully is so important. And 2 weeks ago, we covered messaging as well. Just before half term, we did a whole thing around messaging and how to speak to different areas, which we're going to kind of wave top in this section as well. All these trainings are available to you guys. So just drop me a message or an email. I can share the links with you afterwards. There's Phoebe and Isabella on this call as well, who work with me, who can share. So just drop them a note or send them your email if you would like to be sent any of these trainings. So let's get practical. So one of the questions, one of the comments we had is, we're only B2B, so we don't need to do any PR and marketing. Well, that's definitely not true. PR and marketing is just as effective, just as important, in fact, more so. You think you may be generating fewer sales through your trade work, but those sales are, by virtue of the fact that they're trade, they're huge, they're bigger economies of scale, and it's just as important to be engaging there as well as the other places. So what are the benefits of a trade campaign? Raising brand awareness amongst your trade customers, sure. Reminding buyers about your business and alerting them to new products. So you might already have some supermarket listings or some store listings. You might be going, yeah, we're done. But it's actually reminding them, it's continually going back to them, alerting them to your new products, alerting them to your new things, new offers that you've got going on. You want to position your company, or maybe your business owner, your lead, as an expert in the industry. You want to demonstrate that your company is investing in its brand, driving consumer demand. You might actually even be looking for investment into your business, and you want to show that you're a really strong, growing business. And you want to ensure visibility within the industry, make sure that you're reaching the different industry influencers. And it gives you something to post on LinkedIn, which, as you all know by now, is my favorite platform for all of this kind of thing. So talking to the trade, who is your target audience? I mean, some people talk about the F&B as if it were all one massive conglomerate audience. But of course, there are so many different sections, and the way in which you talk to each of these different sections is very different. Are you focused on grocers or multiples, or catering and food service, or is it hospitality and manufacturing? It's all very different. Don't forget, your trade customers are consumers too. There is a point about remembering to be human when you're talking to the trade, not always being too serious when you're engaging with them. The writers are usually having to assimilate and précis huge quantities of data all the time. And you can do your bit by helping to make your comments, questions, and content, make sure they're within the word count, make sure they're relevant, interesting, fresh. Don't be afraid to give a new angle. There's a lot of people saying the same thing. Be the person who takes a different angle. How to reach the trade. There are so many options. There are so many different trade media, PR, advertising, emails, events, exhibitions, LinkedIn, Twitter. And you should be adapting your message for each and every different platform and or publication. So trade, I mean, in food and drink, trade PR, you've got off trade, take home. I always remember it like off license is an off trade, somewhere where you go and buy something that you take home. It's the grocery retail market, multiples, supermarkets, independent convenience stores, symbol brand retailers. There's also, the kind of publications would be things like The Grocer or convenience store, drinks, retail news, things like that. You've got on trade, which is all about licensed venues where consumers can buy alcohol on the premises. So bars, pubs, restaurants, hotels. And the kind of publications that cover this would be things like The Morning Advertiser, Pub and Bar. You've got food service. This covers catering, restaurants, hotels, cafes, casual dining. So The Caterer and Catering Today, things like that. Packaging, there are a huge number of publications related to packaging, especially with the rise of sustainable and eco-conscious business. There is a huge amount of different publications and different stories. And there's a lot that you can do around the packaging, the rebranding. Publications like Packaging Weekly, that kind of thing. Marketing press, there are many publications related to that. PR, advertising, design, marketing. It is a really useful activity as it positions, in our case, our clients, or for you guys, it positions you as a business that's investing in its PR and marketing. If your business is big enough to be focused and featured in a marketing publication because it's doing something really new and innovative and exciting, then it really puts you on a pedestal. It really sets you aside from your competitors. And there are loads of different publications, PR Week, advertising, etc. And sustainability, we've actually pulled this out as a section in itself because there are so many publications now springing up which focus on the values, the ethics of your business, and of course, sustainability. So communicating with retailers or grocers, which is for a lot of the food and drinks businesses on here, they are selling third party through different retailers. So you're writing for the readers of the magazine. So if it's the grocer, for example, you're trying to get into the head of a retail buyer. What is it that motivates a grocery buyer? Margins and revenue, sure. But do they have a commitment to local brands or plant-based brands? Are they looking for more ethical brands? Are they going to be the first to stock your brand? Is it a disruptor brand? Does it stand out from the crowd? Is it carbon neutral? Read the press, read the interviews, find out what the buyers, what the different retailers are actually currently looking for and talking about. Communicating with food service, whether you're emailing a buyer direct or writing an article or designing an advert, you have to get inside the head again of the food and beverage manager or the head chef, for example. Hospitality are going to want to know about the practicalities of your product. How does it store? How much room does it take up in a fridge, on a sideboard? Is it ambient? Does it need to be frozen? Can it be reused? Can it be opened and reused? Why should they change from their current provider or supplier? I mean, that is really key. Most of these places will already have a solution to the problem that you are offering. What is it that sets you aside? What is it that you are doing better? What is it that is going to make their lives easier if they were to change? What does your product bring to their customers that they don't already have? So how can they better serve the needs of their customers? So generally, there are a number of different ways you can generate kind of trade PR. And the best place to start is Forward Features. Most trade publications publish a schedule of features for the year. You can find them on their website, or you can phone up and ask for a copy. They will give you literally a PDF list, and it's got every single month and what's coming up. Some of this might include expert comments. So they may be planning a kind of opinion piece, a roundup of different ideas from across the industry on certain subjects. It could be related to fridges. It could be related to wine. It could be related to increasing the offering at your bar. It could be cocktails. It could be plant-based dishes for your menu. It could be all sorts of different things. When you go back with your expert commentary, back up what you're saying, use stats, use market trends, use insights. Don't be too salesy, but you can mention your products if it's relevant. Case studies, you can show your customers how to use your product to generate revenue, show the worth of your product. And it's really good here if you can partner up and piggyback with another brand, or maybe one of your producers or suppliers, to actually really create a lovely story that's quite well rounded with various different businesses all chipping in. And then of course there are lots of profiling slots. For example, going back to the grocer, there's always the big interview. There's my food job for under 25s in food and drink. There's a number of different places that you can get a profile. And of course, news related to new products and new stockists is always relevant. So other ways to reach the trade: get active on LinkedIn. Definitely do this. This is one of the most fast growing areas of B2B social media. It's absolutely crucial. Get active on LinkedIn, build up your network with genuine connections across the industry. You don't have to know everyone you connect with. Most people, if they see a synergy with you, are likely to be happy to connect with you. So you can use it as a platform for making introductions. It's social, so be social. Don't go straight in with a hard sell. You'd never do that at a networking event. And this works in exactly the same way. If you've connected with someone you're excited to be linked with, then just start watching and listening. Look at their posts, read their posts, like and comment on them, engage with them in a meaningful way. When you're starting to build a rapport, then you can take it into direct messaging. But again, keep it really light. Don't go in with a hard sell. Trade events are without a doubt one of the best ways to engage with the trade. Even as an event delegate, I mean, we know that trade events are not cheap. It's not a cheap way to engage, but there is so much to be gained from this. So as a delegate, as a visitor, you will still have access to buyers and big industry hitters. But again, watch, listen, learn from what's going on in the industry. Learn as much as you can about what the buyers are talking about, what matters to them, because this is going to form your pitch to them later. Listen to the keynote speakers, attend the seminars, and just understand as much as you can. If you are exhibiting, then all of this still applies. Make sure you take at least 1 or 2 or 3 other people in your team so you don't have to man your stand all the time. As the CEO, the MD, the founder, your job is to learn to network. Your team should be on hand to call you back to the stand if anyone really important comes, but you should be in those seminars and listening and watching, and if you can, even speaking at them. Make sure you capture your email addresses from everyone you can. Make sure you're keeping really decent notes on the best leads you can meet. It's all too easy to get caught up in the excitement and forget who said what to whom on which day. Keep really decent notes and take contact details. Before you go to the event, give the exhibition press office something to talk about related to you. You probably won't feel like you've got the headspace. And I know from all the clients I've worked with over the years that the run up to an event can feel crazy. You're trying to sort out your signage. You're trying to make sure you've got your samples. You've got t-shirts for the team. It can feel crazy. And it'll be about 4 to 6 weeks before you go that the event press office will be asking you for news. They'll be asking you for any stories. Send something, just send anything that you've launched within the last 3 or 6 months. Send them details. Talk about launching it there. If you can launch a new product there, so much the better, because you will get PR around it. In terms of social media, again, make a little plan before you go. Just jot it down. Plan to succeed. Have a kind of idea of what it is that you want to gain from this. Do you want to get a load more followers? Now, I imagine if you're using social media, not just LinkedIn, and you have a trade account, for example, my business is a PR agency. We work B2B, but we are on social media. But the people we're looking to follow us are other businesses. They're food and drinks businesses. They're not people. And that can be exactly the same with some of your businesses in this trade situation. So just make sure you have a plan. What is it you intend to post? What's the strategy behind it? I know we've done tons of sessions on what the strategy is. Is it to show your authority that you're at this event and maybe you're speaking at this event or you're learning from this event? Or is it literally to be being social, to be engaging with those people, to be following every buyer, to be then sending a message saying, I've just seen you talk, I really liked it, so that you're starting to build that rapport with that person. Get someone in your team, either there with you or back in your office, perhaps, to help you post content. You can always take pictures and videos yourself and then WhatsApp them to someone in your office and get them to post and get them to make sure that you've got all the right app mentions and hashtags and all of that sort of thing. It is really important to be present online as well as physically at these events. And then consumer. So I know we've done a lot on consumer, so I'm not going to go hugely into detail here, but there are so many benefits of running a consumer campaign. As we know, it's raising brand awareness amongst the consumers, it's building brand loyalty, increasing discovery of brands and products. It's driving D2C sales. So that could be via your own shops or via an online shop. Could be improving SEO to your website, boosting social media followers, creating your own actual fan base, and ensuring that you have kind of sustained visibility for your brand with your consumers. Just doing one action once is not enough. I go on about this a lot, I know, but it's all about that repeatable habit that makes the marketing really work. Talking to your consumers. So again, who's your target audience? I know we've done a huge thing on the demographics there, but who is your target audience? Being absolutely crystal clear on who your gang is, who your tribe is, embracing your brand voice and finding your platforms. You've got PR, so outreaching to the media, which is matched to your target demographic. You've got events, pop-ups, sampling, sponsorship, social media. Absolutely, you have to be doing social media, LinkedIn, newsletters and email marketing. And of course, don't forget to adapt your message for each and every platform publication. We covered that a lot 2 weeks ago in our messaging training, but it is absolutely key. And embracing your brand voice. When you're talking to your end consumer, we talked a lot about always talk to them, call them out, use their jargon, use their phraseology, making sure that when your perfect target market, your perfect person, your perfect demographic persona sees your content, sees your marketing, they immediately go, oh, this is me. This is me. And there's a different way to talk to different generations. And it's really important that we are sentient about that. So we talked, didn't we, about Gen Z being very authentic, being real, being kind, being socially conscious. Millennials, very environmentally motivated, again, socially motivated. They're very cost and value driven. Gen X, it's much more for them around quality and efficiency. And again, give examples, give reviews, show case studies. Baby boomers, again, they want you to talk about quality. This generation believes buy cheap, buy twice. They want to hear about value. They want to hear about quality. So here's some examples from a PR point of view, some examples of consumer coverage. These are great because you've got a good 100 words of copy. You've got a product image. The product image here is key. You can see they have really nice, easy to read brand logos. And after all, we're trying to build brand recognition, and nothing says brand recognition more than your logo. So this is why it's really key when you're designing your packaging that your logo is very big, it's very bold, it's very easy to read, easy to recognize, easy to repeat. The copy down the side should contain 3 key messages, as we talked about in the last workshop, which is, what is it? How do you buy it? And your USPs. What is it that sets you aside from others in the industry? So these are slightly different types of PR that you can generate. The business profiling one, that's a lovely one-page interview in, I think it's in Woman and Home magazine. It took 15 months from start to finish. This is what we mean sometimes about PR being a slow burn. It took 15 months. They were always interested in the story, but they only really do one of these interviews every month. There are 12 months in a year. It takes time for them to have decided exactly where this interview should sit in the year. But it was a lovely piece. We actually even went and got a lot of these photos of Hannah and her range shot especially for this piece. And of course, it wasn't wasted because there's lovely brand representation. You can see the logo on the back there. You can see the logo again on the products in the foreground. Yet you wouldn't necessarily notice how well branded that image is if you weren't looking for it. So, you know, you can really see how we're really trying to build that brand recognition, but by making images which are slightly more subtle. Not that's particularly subtle, but you can see on the right here, this is influencer engagement. In fact, we're going to do the whole training on influencer marketing next week, because this is something I've been asked for on email, is how on earth do I work with influencers? And the answer was so long, I thought, right, this is a whole workshop in itself. This is a great piece of influencer marketing. It's something someone in our team generated. You can see in the rear ground, you can see Macnade, which is nice, really clear logo, but it's quite subtle. You can see it's probably a hamper, and she's got the hamper things out in front and she's tasting them. And it's a really lovely lifestyle image, but it's still got that brand messaging. It sets a scene, it tells a story. Social media, other ways to reach your consumer. Of course, social media, we know from previous sessions how powerful this activity is for a brand. And one of the things I think business owners really struggle with relation to social media is that it doesn't directly drive sales. So it's hard to make the link between time used on social media and your actual end sales. But I think it's very important. It's important to recognize that although, yep, sure, you know, using the link in the bio, you may well drive people straight into your website to purchase. It is a lot around brand discovery and brand awareness. It is really critical activity for the business. It's where we know all of Gen Z, we know all of millennials, a lot of Gen X, in fact, baby boomers too. They're all discovering brands via social media. Now, it's only the first two demographics, the younger two demographics, the Gen Zs and the millennials, who are purchasing via social media. The other two generations tend to prefer to go to a website or purchase in a completely different way. But it is absolutely critical. It's critical for brand discovery. It's critical for awareness. One of the ways you can measure the efficacy of it is actually to look at the number of people who are then searching via a search engine and coming into your website that way. And you can find that information through your Google Analytics. Markets and events. This might be farmers markets, fairs, fetes, or bigger consumer shows. You generate revenue from the sales, of course, but again, it's a mistake to look at going to events or going to markets purely as a revenue generating activity, because it is so much more than that. And I hear clients all the time saying, oh, we paid £2,000 for our stand, but we only made 1,500. It's an absolute waste of time. But it wasn't a waste of time. It's not a waste of time, because it's a sampling opportunity. It's customer research. When else do you get to see and hear customers' direct feedback on your product range? It's all about thinking very carefully about the long-term gain from events. If you're able to cover your costs, then you are doing well. This isn't always the case with events, but go with the strategy of getting your product into as many hands as possible. Pick the events that have your perfect demographic and fall in love with the people at your event. You want them to taste your range. You want them to be scrabbling after your samples. I'm sure you're bored of hearing me bang on about it, but no one knows how good your products are until after the sale has occurred. Until that point, they only know how good your marketing is. You have got to get your product into people's hands. And I hear people at events really getting, oh, everyone's just here to steal all the samples. Good. That is one of the key strategies of that event. If people are scrabbling after your samples, The reason is they're probably good. They probably really want them. Making sure that you're getting samples into people's hands is really, really key. You know, the businesses and brands, again, I've mentioned this many times, but the businesses and brands which really succeed have a very strong focus on marketing. They make it a routine. It's a positive, repeatable habit. It's accountable for itself. It's measured at every stage, and they execute their marketing plan continuously throughout the year. And the businesses which I see struggling have either neglected marketing altogether or engage in kind of random acts of PR and marketing without any sort of strategy or plan, which, as you know, I always say it's not marketing, it's mess. So let's chat. I'm always happy to have an informal chat anytime, really genuine offer. I love helping people. Do feel free to book a call with me. I think Phoebe and Isabella have got the link to book into my diary. Honestly, do. There's no obligation. I will really happily just chat through with you about whether you're going in the right direction or the wrong direction, or just any questions you have. And we can support you with all elements of communications, including PR, social media, newsletters, blogs, even mentoring. There are a number of different ways you can work with us. There's a lot of different options, starting from just £100. First, on the right-hand side is our main communication services. You might call them our kind of done for you plans. This is where our award-winning communications team can take everything off your hands. We can free up your time. We can put together full brand awareness plan using PR, social media, influencer outreach, brand ambassador programs, emails, newsletters, LinkedIn lead gen. We can literally take it all off your hands. Retained comms plans start from just $9.50 per month. And secondly, our done with you plan. This is our newest offering. It's just $3.99 and it's a 12-month commitment. But it's all around creating this positive, repeatable marketing plan, measurable habit. And it's all about helping you to integrate all the different elements of the marketing mix. And when you're a small brand with really big ambitions, you might not yet have the budget to employ an agency for social media and an agency for PR and an agency for something else. But it is really important that all of these things work cohesively and work holistically together. Otherwise, you're not going to see the effect and you're not going to have used your resources in the best possible way. So for many people, this is a really, really brilliant activity. And we've got a nice community that we're building. And we will do a lot of training around PR, social media, paid traffic, emails, the list goes on. And we help you to identify what you do need and what you don't need. We'll support you and your growing team throughout the year. We'll help you to write your own PR and marketing strategy with our guidance and advice as we go. And it's a really great way of starting, especially if you are maybe just one or two of you in your team at the moment and you know you need to do something. I also do a lot of mindset work, especially with my one-to-one mentoring clients. Working on your mindset, making sure you're in the right place to succeed is absolutely critical. As critical as it is to make friends with money, as I was talking about at the beginning of the webinar, I've supported, mentored, grafted for hundreds of different food and drinks brands. I mean, we might even be getting near to 1,000 brands from my career so far. And the single thing which differentiates those that succeed with those that plateau is mindset. And actually, it's the next webinar that I want to do after we've done influencer marketing. It's absolutely critical. If you want to know more, we'll be running the next workshop. I think it's on, is it Wednesday, the 2nd of March at 9:30 again. And that's going to focus on engaging with influencers, how to work with influencers. So if you found this useful and you want to do something nice for us in return, then please do head to our Google page and add a 5-star review. It really, really helps us. It really helps other food and drinks businesses to find us and allows us to help them. So if you've got 2 minutes afterwards, that would be a really, really kind thing to do. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for coming today. Bye.